Russian airstrikes hit the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. We bring you the latest updates on the conflict and how it hits close to home. President Joe Biden gave his State of the Union address last night. Hear what Oklahoma legislators had to say. This is OU Nightly.
Is President Putin's war. This isn't the Russian people's war. It's becoming clearer by the day that the Russian people oppose it.
Strong words from the U.S. Secretary of State today declaring not even Russian citizens support their country's invasion. Good evening and welcome to OU Nightly. I'm Kolby Terrell.
And I'm Jessie Klinger. We begin tonight with the latest on the Russian war in Ukraine. We are now in day 7 of the invasion. Ukrainian authorities have reported an airstrike in the capital of Kyiv near the train stations. When it happened, thousands of women and children were in the process of being evacuated and waiting for trains. So far, Ukraine says 2,000 of its citizens have been killed by Russian forces and airstrikes. Envoys from Russia and Ukraine are expected to meet on the border of Belarus on Thursday for another round of talks aimed at ending the fighting. Meantime, several Russian planes were shot down in the fighting as well. Ripple effects are being felt around the world as the price of oil soared to $112 a barrel, and American companies like Airbus and Boeing said they would cut off shipments for spare parts for Russian airliners.
And here in Oklahoma, the conflict is hitting close to home for members of a Ukrainian Orthodox church. OU Nightly's Morgan Owens shares their story.
Miles from home in Jones, Oklahoma, is the St. Mary's Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Father Stefan Biglion and his wife Irina are watching from home as their families are facing the Russian invasion in Ukraine. I'm worried about what is happening in Ukraine and what it is leading to. Father Stefan's parents, friends, and other family are continuing to face soldiers who have also been their friends. We are always friendly, and we are friends with the soldiers, and it's different now. Their family in Ukraine is following the guidance of turning their lights off and staying in their homes, but is still keeping touch with their family here in Oklahoma. They are very nervous right now, and she says, "We are really worried." Father Stefan and Irina are asking for people to pray for them and for their families throughout this time. Morgan Owens, OU Nightly.
Organizations like the Red Cross and Doctors Without Borders are accepting donations to send to Ukrainians as Russia's invasion continues throughout their country.
President Joe Biden gave his first State of the Union address as the war in Ukraine continues. Romelo Woodfork has that story and the rest of today's headlines from around the world in the News Center. Romelo.
Thank you, Jessie. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, said a word of hope to the American people during the State of the Union. Biden's word of hope stems from Russian aggression against Ukraine.
And a flag to be okay. Coffin. I know. One of those soldiers was my son, Major Bo Biden.
Biden said that we are seeing unity among world leaders, that democracy is rising to the challenge of autocracy. The president said that the union is strong because the American people are strong. He also said that American troops would not be in direct contact with Russian forces and that he would protect U.S. businesses from harm due to sanctions on Russia. The State of the Union hit a couple of bumps in the road. Representative Lowen Bobart and Marjorie Taylor Greene interrupted the president throughout his speech. Bobart went as far as blaming Biden for the loss of life during the Iraq evacuation.
A cancer that would put them in a flag-draped coffin. I know. One of those soldiers was my son, Major Bo Biden.
Bobart is not backing down, tweeting Wednesday that Democrats are upset about her interruptions, but what about the families' lives that were interrupted? U.S. and world sanctions are working. According to the Kremlin spokesman, the Russian economy has taken serious blows. The Russian stock market was closed Monday and still has not reopened. Russia's biggest oil buyers are also pulling out or moving businesses elsewhere. ExxonMobil has decided to walk away from Russia after 25 years of dealings. And And closer news to home, Texas general election is set for the fall, and a major showdown is expected between Governor Abbott and Beto O'Rourke. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Romelo. Reactions from Oklahoma's congressional is somewhat supportive of the president's ideas, but the red state representatives and senators have other ideas of what else they want to see from the White House. OU Nightly's Amaya Ward spoke with some of them and has our report from our Washington, D.C. bureau.
The Oklahoma delegation generally reacted favorably to President Biden's tough talk about Russia and its invasion of Ukraine. However, Oklahoma's congressmen and senators want Biden to do more and completely cut off Russia's oil exports and expand America's oil production.
Today, we're importing some 600,000 barrels a day, just U.S. alone, sending $60 million check every single day to Russia. That's not being cut off in the sanctions.
Republican Representative Kevin Hern believes that the U.S. is ultimately funding the war by buying oil from Russia, and it needs to stop.
Our people in Oklahoma could be providing the oil and gas so that Europeans can be dependent upon them instead of being dependent upon Russian oil.
Senator Langford went to social media stating he was encouraged by the president's Ukraine speech, but is also pushing for more U.S. independency.
What we really need to do, and what he wouldn't talk about tonight, is actually put pressure on Russia by increasing Oklahoma and America oil and gas production to be able to send to Europe.
Congressman Hern wishes that President Biden would have announced that to the world, that the United States was going to stop all money going to Russia.
He would have got a roaring round of applause from everybody in the chamber if he would just said that. Oklahomans would have been cheering. Texans would have been cheering.
Most of Oklahoma's lawmakers were also critical of the president over his plans to improve America's infrastructure and strategy to combat inflation. Amaya Ward, Gaylord News.
Oklahoma senior Senator Jim Einhoff commented that President Biden is doing little to control inflation, which is currently at a 40-year high.
And back here at home, we're enjoying those warmer spring temperatures, aren't we, Jessie?
Yes, Kolby, and we are in for nice weather a little while longer. Collin Mertz is here with a first look in our forecast. Collin.
That's right, guys. Looking out across the metro, we got pretty high temperatures, especially for this time of year. Now, you may have heard that yesterday was the first day of meteorological spring. Well, we certainly have the temperatures to prove it. And these temperatures across the metro, 72 in El Reno, 76 and more, they're a lot higher than we see normally, pretty high for what we normally have this time of year. But as we look into the next few days, we get to see the possibility of fire weather and maybe even some rain in the future. We're going to take a look at that coming up.
As COVID numbers continue to fall, there are still spikes across Oklahoma. The state health department reports over 900 new cases and just under 4,000 active cases. There have been nearly 15,000 deaths since the beginning of the pandemic.
And heavy rainfall is causing devastating environmental impacts. Find out just what problem is causing the rain is causing. Earth Report is next.
Plus, a new bill could change the way feminine hygiene products are taxed. Up next on OU Nightly. Heavy rainfall is having extremely harmful effects here in the U.S. and abroad. Zaria Oates has this and more in Earth Report.
Hillsides coming down, trees laid out across main roads, all from a record rainfall, painting a very harsh picture in the Puget Sound region of Washington state. These massive landslides are coming in just 6 weeks after a water break slid a house in Somerset off of its foundation. Fire crews responded quickly and are clearing trees and residue from streets, but many homes in the Auburn area are built on hillsides that are sure to give way as heavy rainfall continues to hit the northwestern state. And over in Australia, scientists are using satellite data to dissect the effects of the massive 2019 and 2020 fires. Scientists say the smoke set off chemical reactions in the stratosphere miles above Earth, and the most intense part of the chain reaction is the lowering of nitrogen dioxide, which ultimately depletes ozone. Now, 2 years from the 2020 fires, Australia is seeing a complete 180 of major flooding in New South Wales and Queensland. At this point, thousands of people are rescued, Tens of thousands evacuated, and 17 local government areas are declared disaster zones. And it's National Invasive Species Awareness Week, so Kolby, Jessie, the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation advises anyone heading out to a body of water to make sure you're cleaning, draining, and drying any recreational boats and water gear for things like frogs and salamanders, who are extremely sensitive species to infectious pathogens.
Thanks, Zaria. According to the Alliance for Period Supplies, 1 in 5 menstruating women in Oklahoma live below federal poverty line. Senator Jessica Garvin is working on a solution to change lives. Senate Bill 1499 would create a revolving fund for the state to provide products to women and girls at no cost. The bill passed through the Appropriations Committee today and will head to the Senate floor next. Garvin says those supplies should be a necessity, not a luxury.
There are statistics that I read that showed of the women who live in poverty, 50% of those women have had to choose between buying tampons and buying food.
Garvin is a Republican senator, but she says this issue is bipartisan and is receiving heavy support from both sides.
Today, campus's largest culinary celebration took place.
We'll tell you about that festival when we return.
And Collin, are these rising temperatures going to impact the fire warnings we've been seeing lately?
They absolutely are. We talked about fire weather and earth report, and we're going to have to keep an eye on that as things continue. Looking out at our sky cam, we can see some pretty beautiful skies out there and beautiful temperatures to match. 76 here in Norman, and light breeze 10 miles an hour out of the south. But look at that dew point, really, really dry. And those temperatures kind of echo across the state. 76 in Oklahoma City and Norman, but keeping these high temperatures is what we have to look through for fire weather. This is the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, but we also have to keep in mind that this is a threat that we're going to see across the most of the state tomorrow and into Friday, the northern parts of the state. But Saturday is really what we're going to be concerned about. We see an extreme critical risk across the central portion of the state, and these high temperatures posed with lower dew points is really with things keeping us dry, it's going to elevate that fire risk. Now, if we look at the satellite right now, we see some high pressure that's kind of centered over our area. And that's really what's going to be keeping us from having any storms, but it's also what's going to keep us dry. So if you haven't had the chance to wash your car off from all the salt and the snow and the sand, Thursday and Friday are going to be your best options. That window's closing, though, because Saturday and Sunday, things are going to start ramping up for the possibility of rain. We see Thursday and into Friday, things are going to stay clear as that high pressure keeps us clear. But as we move into Friday and Saturday morning and then into Sunday, we see a cold front push through that's going to lower those temperatures and kick up the possibility of storms. Lows tonight are going to remain around the 40s, and of course, highs tomorrow, a little bit of a graphic error there, but are going to be in the high to mid 70s. And then looking at the next few days, we're going to continue to warm up into the 70s, keep our clear skies in the 70s on Friday. And then if we look for the rest of the week, that possibility is Saturday, Sunday of storms into Monday and Tuesday. But overall, not going to be terrible. Back to you guys.
Today at the Oklahoma Memorial Union, Latino Flavor brought an array of cuisine from all across Latin America. It's a yearly celebration that transports you into the culture with live music, food, desserts, and booths from different Latin clubs across campus. The festival is the largest culinary celebration at OU and is meant to honor the diversity among Latin American countries.
Today, where we get to celebrate the 20-plus countries that comprise Latin America. Each one is unique with their own histories and their own cultures.
If you missed the festival, be sure to check out the upcoming OU Hispanic Royalty Pageant.
And while Kolby, it looks like the Sooners are getting the ball rolling on soccer season.
Well, let's kick it over to Brooklyn Sweet for sports then. Brooklyn?
That's right. OU soccer is getting their season started tonight at John Crane Field. And women's basketball heads to Stillwater for their second Bedlam matchup this year. Stick around because sports is next. Welcome back to OU Nightly. I'm Brooklyn Sweet, and let's talk sports. We begin today on the hardwood, and what was a heartfelt win last night in Lloyd Noble for many Sooner basketball players turns into a fight for the Big 12. OU Nightly's Dylan Rivera and Pierce Loeffelholz talk about the Sooners' must-win games to come.
Well, it was the final home game of the season here at the LNC, and it was senior night for Marvin Johnson, Ethan Shagwa, Mo Gibson, and Jordan Goldwire. And the Sooners came out with a victory in a must-win scenario. 72-59 was the final score over the West Virginia Mountaineers. Dylan Rivera here with Pierce Loeffelholz. And it was a really interesting game for these Sooners, especially on the offensive side of the ball. We saw something a little different. We've only seen it a couple of times this season.
Yeah, 8 Sooners were on the board, had points at the end of the game. 3 Sooners in double digits. Tanner Groves leading the way with back-to-back double-doubles. Finished with 17 points and 10 rebounds, and really sealed the game with 3 big-time threes late down the stretch. And then on the opposite side, they had 10 steals as a team to finish the game off, and really high-energy game from the Sooners.
Yeah, and then one thing you don't really see often as well is the rebound battle. They lost the rebound battle 32-25 and allowed 16 offensive rebounds to the West Virginia Mountaineers and still pulled out the win in this one. And like I said earlier, it was a must-win scenario. Now all these games, these last couple of games here, have Big 12 tournament implications. So they win this one, but now they've got another must-win scenario on Saturday when they take on the Kansas State Wildcats in Manhattan. We will be keeping up with that one, so you can follow along with at Loeffelholz TV, at Dylan Rivera TV, and then of course with our outlets at OU Nightly and at GameDayU_hoops.
Bedlam takes the stage tonight as OU women's basketball faces off the Oklahoma State Cowgirls tonight in Stillwater. The Sooners are coming off of a win against Kansas State, where senior Taylor Robertson sunk a buzzer-beating three-point shot to put the ladies on top. The last time the two teams met, the Sooners put up 84 points against OSU, with Liz Scott scoring a career-high 22 points. Tonight, OSU and OU are tied 24-24 when playing in Gallagher-Iba Arena. Tip-off is at 6:30 p.m. Sooner men's golf swept the Southern Highlands Collegiate to clinch their 3rd consecutive tournament win. Senior Patrick Welch led the field with 19 birdies on the week, winning the individual title. This makes the team the 3rd program in NCAA history to win 3 straight tournaments. The Sooners are looking to make it 4 on March 18th and 19th at the men's NIT at Tucson National in Arizona. It's football time in Oklahoma, but maybe not the kind you're thinking. Tonight, the OU soccer team takes on the UCO Broncos for their first exhibition game this season. The Sooners reload their roster with 4 transfers and a high-ranking 2022 recruiting class. The ladies will continue this weekend at home with matchups against Oral Roberts and Rogers State. Tonight's 7 o'clock matchup and all others this season at John Crane Field will be free to the public. Wisconsin men's basketball upset number 8 Purdue Tuesday night in dramatic fashion. With only a second and a half left in the game, freshman point guard Chucky Hepburn sunk a game-winning 3-point winner from the left wing. For what many fans believe to be a year of rebuilding, Wisconsin's win over Purdue clinched a share of the Big Ten regular season title for the Badgers. And last night must have been a great day to be a Badgers fan. I can't imagine what it was like being one of the 17,000 fans there. Jessie, Kolby, back to you.
Thanks, Brooklyn. The war in Ukraine is keeping many families apart.
But now one family is reuniting right here in the U.S. We'll tell you all about it when we return.
I'm Snowforth at the OU Nightly Update Desk. A university Zoom call was hacked in a possible Russian cyber attack. The University of Nebraska-Lincoln was hosting a call to discuss helping Ukraine when people started screaming in Russian and posting pornographic material. There's no proof this attack was from Russia, but officials are blaming Russian cybercriminals for many recent attacks on businesses. Jessie, Kolby, back to you.
A Ukrainian mother and her 2 children have reunited with family in the U.S.
And they were able to leave the war zone in Ukraine due to the kindness of complete strangers.
An anonymous couple has donated hundreds of thousands of airline miles to help Ukrainians trying to flee the country.
The generous donation allowed the family to travel from Poland to Germany to Washington and finally to their family in North Carolina.
And now Collin is back to give us a look at the weather for the upcoming week. Collin?
Thanks, guys. Yeah, looking at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, again, we see those mid to low 70s that are going to keep us nice and warm. But then again, Saturday morning into Sunday, we have that cold front move through, cool things off, and push up the chance of storms. And then into next week, Monday, Tuesday, we see those cooler temperatures remain. and really kind of show us as these weeks continue, as these days continue, the possibility of rain into Monday, Tuesday. But overall, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good couple of days.
Thanks for tuning in to OU Nightly. We're live every weekday from Gaylord Hall on the campus of the University of Oklahoma.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night, live at 4:30. Good night.